Hi everyone, welcome to episode 138 of A Stitch at a Time. Today is Thursday, April 23rd, 2020. My name's Carol. I'm known as Knitsnpurls on Ravelry, and I'm coming to you from the Fraser Valley of British Columbia, Canada, not too far east of Vancouver. If this is your first time watching, hello, welcome. Thank you for checking out the podcast, and if you're a returning viewer, hello again. Thanks for coming by once more to spend some time with me. And of course, I say it every week, but I really mean it. Thank you to everyone who reached out since my last episode. I always really appreciate that you take the time to say hello, make a comment, interact in some way, and I do my very best to respond, and really do appreciate the connection that have formed with many of you over the last almost 3.5 years. So I have lots of knitting to talk about this week, not much of anything else. I normally record Wednesdays, and I did get up in the morning intending to record, but the taxes have been kind of weighing on my shoulders. I'm the one that does the taxes around here, and I actually sat down and manually figured some things out last week, and had all the papers sitting around, and I decided that it was time to actually get online and file them and send them away. And so that's what I ended up doing yesterday afternoon instead, so I can sit here with a clear conscience. So yes, I have one finished project, one almost finished project, actually two almost finished projects, a sort of old one to talk about and a brand new one. So let's get into it. So I am very happy to say that my Vicar's wife socks are 100% finished. I will bring them up nice and close so you can take a look. So they have this pretty lace design that go along the center front, and then I'll just twist this around a little bit. It's kind of a fairly detailed cable-y bit that runs up the back of the sock. So if you've been watching for a while, I started these 3 years ago as part of an Agatha Christie along that I held in the podcast Ravelry group, and these were knit or designed with this book in mind. This is by Maureen Folds. It's not my design, but yeah, the Murder at the Vicarage, and the socks are inspired by the vicar's wife, and actually the design on the back is supposed to represent the vicar himself. And as you can see, I was inspired by the cover of the book to choose this nice bright pink yarn. And so that's kind of where that came from. So I knit these, I think I knit the first one fairly quickly, and then I just kind of lost interest, and I didn't feel like dealing with this pattern. It's so silly because I mean, it's not that difficult. Yes, you have to pay attention and all that, but it's not, that bad. So 3 years went by, and I finally pulled them out of hibernation and decided that too much work went into sock number 1 to not finish sock number 2. And so once I set my mind to it, it took very little time to knit sock number 2. Now I'm kind of kicking myself that I waited so long. I do notice I can tell this is the second sock because it's a little bit looser than the first one. I know my gauge has changed when it comes to knitting socks, but other than that, I mean, they're virtually identical, and I can finally actually wear them, get some use out of them. So very, very happy to be able to call this project done. Carol popping in from the future to say that Lisa of Fiber Nymph Dye Works and the 90% Knitting podcast told me she couldn't wait to hear me say, I finished off The Vicar's Wife. And then I forgot to say it. So Lisa and everybody, don't tell anyone, but I finished off The Vicar's Wife. Love that sense of humor. Thank you, Lisa, for inspiring this week's episode title. I finished off The Vicar's Wife, and I'm really happy about it. I just realized, actually, I'll just put a picture in up here in a second. My almost done project is my Stratosphere by Sandra MacGyver. It is from the book Swirl. It is another project that has been hibernating for far too long. I started it back in 2011. It's another one that, as I went through all my old projects, I decided to keep and finish. And so I forget what day it was. I think it was Monday maybe. Monday or Tuesday. Monday. I finished all the knitting on it and immediately put it to soak so that I could block it. So it is knit from Noro Silk Garden in color 337, and I was kind of worried as I was nearing the end that I was going to run out of yarn, but thankfully I had enough and then some. So which was a good thing, because in my exploration as I was running low on yarn, I discovered that this is a discontinued color, and even though there are quite a few people on Ravelry who have it in their stashes, I couldn't find anyone who had it for sale or trade. And so I was a little bit worried, but awfully relieved to discover that I did have enough. So it is far too big and bulky to show it to you. I'm going to put, there should be a photo up here somewhere around now that shows you what it's supposed to look like when it's finished. But I am going to pop in here a little video that I filmed right after I finished blocking it. And that'll give you at least a glimpse of how it looks for now. So I'm going to pop that in here. This is quite a momentous moment, if you can have such a thing. I finished knitting and blocking my Stratosphere, which is a swirl sweater by Sandra MacGyver. And I have knit this one out of Noro Silk Garden. So I've taken over the family room floor with my blocking mats, and I actually only had enough blocking mats to put them around the perimeter, and then I laid a towel down in the middle. But that's actually okay, because the only place you actually pin this project when you're blocking is that outer perimeter of the sweater. So as you can see, it's constructed by knitting basically an octagon, and then you begin some shaping for this back area, and then you gradually cast on and increase stitches for the sleeves, and then they are knit from cuff to cuff, and then you proceed to cast off some stitches for the back neck edge, which is right here. And then gradually decrease stitches at the neck edge, and gradually decrease stitches at the sleeve. So this area is the center back. That is where the collar is. And then that's like this is the center back of the collar, which will get attached to the center back here, where that little orange pin is peeking out. And then this is the center back of the sweater, like at the hemline. So the first thing you do, the designer recommends, if you have blocking wires, to insert them through the first row of the second welt. And the sweater is constructed by alternating welts of reverse stockinette and stockinette stitch. And so I did that, and then I found the center of my blocking mats for the center back, for the center front, and for the two sides, and marked those. And then I guesstimated that I would want to put my blocking wires in about 6 inches from the edge of the mat, and that actually turned out to be just right. And so there are 2 lines of decreases, so it's not exactly an octagon because you do have these little portions here at each of the points. So they're supposed to be about 1.25 inches apart, so I measured in 5/8 or 5/8 of an inch from one side of the center and then to the other, and that's where I inserted my pins with the blocking wires. So I did the center back, center front, and the 2 sides, and then I was able to place the points in between. And then I just put 1 pin on each section just to hold that blocking wire straight. And then once that's done, while you're doing that, the sleeves and back area are all kind of puddled in the middle of your octagon, and then you proceed to lay those out. And the instructions are to not stretch this out at all, to sort of just let these welts kind of nestle in to each other. And so it's definitely not a very structured blocking here. Oh, there's my dryer going off. It's laundry day here. Anyway, so yeah, I've kind of laid those out. And then once it's dry, I'm guessing it's probably going to be a couple of days before it's dry because the yarn is quite heavy. It's a worsted weight and got quite wet while I was soaking it. So then once that is done, I will proceed to sew this part. Start there, that's center back, and you kind of attach those areas, kind of come along here, and then sew your sleeve seam together, and then start again and do the same on the other side. And then I think, as I said already, this part is the collar that will then flip back, and that's sort of your front, the front of the sweater here that loops around to the back, and so on. So here, I'll just step back up here on the fireplace hearth to give you a long range view again and overhead. I was really happy with how all the striping turned out. As I would come to an end of a ball, I would try and begin the next ball sort of where the last one left off. And then once I divided for the sleeves, I was able to match up the stripes quite well from sleeve to sleeve. So yeah, really happy with how that turned out. I was a little bit afraid I was going to run out of yarn, but I actually ended up with plenty. So that was good. As I got closer and could see that I'd have enough, I could stop being quite so anxious because this color is discontinued from what I can see. Anyway, yeah, very, very pleased with how that has turned out so far. I look forward to sewing it together, and hopefully it's everything I hope it will be, because certainly these sweaters look very striking in the book. So it is almost dry. So I can't say as I'm looking forward so much to sewing it together as much as I'm just looking forward to when it will be sewn together. I know it's going to be a little bit fiddly, and I know I'm going to be very particular about it because that's just how I am about everything. So I don't think it's just going to be zoom, zoom, zoom and be done. I think it's going to take quite a while. So I'm going to wait till I'm in a really good frame of mind and have lots of time, and then I'll sit down and do it. And I'm not going to use the silk garden yarn to do that. It's only it's very loosely spun. If it's, I don't know if it's singles or just 2 very loosely plied yarns. I'm not really sure, but in any case, I think what I'll do is use some Cascade 220. I have tons and tons of scraps of that yarn. And so that, or Peyton's classic wool, something of that nature. So it'll still be 100% wool, like a non-superwash wool, but I think it will be, for one thing, stronger, and it will sort of hold, not just hold the garment together better, but also be less likely to kind of fall apart as I'm sewing with it. So that's my intention. I'm very hopeful, but no guarantees that it will be done by next podcast so that I can show it to you. It should be, but we'll just see what the future brings, right? So another project that is surprisingly close to being done are what I'm calling my spring robin socks. They are knit from, oh, I just remembered. I'll have to write it in the bottom. I forgot to tell you what yarn I used for my Vicar's wife socks. I'll just include it on there, like in a little note. Anyway, these are knit from West Yorkshire Spinners Signature 4-ply. The main color is 941, which is called Christmas Robin or just Robin in some cases. And then I have used color, where is it here? 510 cayenne pepper to do complementary heels, toes, and cuffs. So they're both at the same point. I have done a 2x2 rib, top down, traditional heel flap and gusset, and I'm ready to do the toe on both socks. So there you can see sock number 1 and sock number 2 is sitting here just about done. So yeah, I guess I've just had, there's just been a number of times where Cameron and I have just, sat around talking, and I'll, be knitting on this while we're chatting. And so they definitely knit up way faster than I was expecting. So I look forward to finishing them off and pulling another of my skeins out to do some plain vanilla socks. Okay, another sip before it gets cold. One project I'm really happy to have started are the Ambient Socks by Helen Stewart. It is the second pattern in the Handmade Sock Society 3. I am knitting them with this yarn. It's from Midnight Cravings Yarn Company. They're a Sweet Sock in the City of Bridges colorway. And then I've got contrasting heels and toes out of the same yarn in Afternoon Tea. Did you just see it get brighter in here? The sun just came out from behind a cloud, but there are some really nasty, dark, gloomy clouds out to the west there that I suspect will be bringing rain sometime in the next few hours. Anyway, I've got quite a good start on these. So as you can see, a 1x1 twisted rib cuff. The front has this lacy pattern, columns of lace set in among reverse stockinette, and then you've got sort of this texture stitches on the back, and then an eye of partridge heel, so it has this little bit of texture there. And I have, as you can see, finished the heel, and am currently working my way down the gusset. Now I was surprised. I put this on a sock blocker to record, and realized they're actually a fair bit shorter than I normally make my socks. Well, when I say a fair bit shorter, really about a ½ an inch. I usually do about a 7-inch cuff. And I didn't actually measure these, but I have a notebook that I use for keeping track of the rows as I knit them. And as I kind of went ahead, where the heel ended up was sort of where most of my socks end up for the right length, and I didn't even bother measuring them until I sort of put them on the sock blocker and noticed the difference between these two socks. So I think it's about a ½ inch, but you know, that's fairly significant. But I am not about to take these back. They will be what they will be. I just was a little bit surprised by that. I wouldn't have thought this was a stitch pattern that would really pull in the length of the stitches that much, but I guess maybe it did. Anyway, so well on my way through the first sock. And then once my stratosphere was finished, or when the knitting was finished, I was looking for another fairly simple pattern that was not plain stockinette socks. And so I pulled my color shifting shawl back out. I had cast this on about a month ago, I think, with the idea of it being a good project to work on during these kind of anxious times when I just needed to just knit and not think too much. It's a pattern by Jennifer Fish. It's a Knit Picks pattern, and I'm using Knit Picks yarn called Muse, which is a fingering weight sock yarn, superwash 75/25 superwash merino nylon blend. It's apparently dyed in Japan and has quite a few kind of what I would call watercolor colorways. So this is the main color, Sassy, and I will show you what I've done and kind of run through the colorways. So it's an asymmetrical triangular shawl. I'm just trying to find the right side here. Yeah, this is the right side. So it started with that Sassy colorway, then moved into, got notes here, Untamed is this kind of variegated green. Then this multicolored one here is called Impulse. The purple is Poetic. I'm back into Sassy again, and then it ends with this one. I'm subbing in this color because they didn't have the original that was used in the pattern. This one is called Elation. It's not going to be that large considering you use 5 skeins of yarn. Really, you use very little of those 5 skeins. Here, there's a look at it in its entirety. Just felt my Fitbit go. I thought it was telling me to move, but it's just vibrating for some reason. Anyway, yeah, it's coming along nicely. It'll be a great size for like to wear like this, which is really how I like to wear most of my shawls. It's a perfect size for that. So I have enjoyed this because it's not too much to think about, and I really like how it's turning out, and the colors kind of cheer me up right now. So happy with that, and happy to have lots of the yarn left over to you know, do something else with. So I have to look. Oh no, it's okay. In the camera I kept looking and thinking there was sometimes the facing on this pops up into here, and I thought that's what was going on, but it's not, so we're good. What I have up and coming is Helen Stewart released the 3rd design from the Handmade Sock Society. I think that was on Tuesday. So it's called, they're called Rainy Window Socks. So I haven't yet figured out what yarn I'm going to use yet. I have a few candidates from my stash. It was funny, as I was writing show notes and I was writing this down, and I happened to glance up at the living room window and it was all covered with raindrops because we had a little shower earlier, so I just thought it was kind of funny. This is a little lacy stitch pattern. I've actually thought about using it in a sock design myself, so she beat me to it. But yeah, I think just kind of resembles little raindrops, so I look forward to knitting those one of these days. I have very little to talk about other than my knitting this week. I keep saying when you don't really go anywhere, there's not much going on, and that is still true. I did go out a couple of times last week, one for a appointment, and then I did go grocery shopping. But other than that, and other than going for a walk, I did go for a couple walks this week. And that felt good because I have really, I think, been a bit spooked about being out too much and have been far too sedentary lately. So I decided this week it was time to get back moving. I know it's not just good for my physical health, but also my mental health. So I have been more active this week. This morning I didn't have to go out for a walk. My mom phoned and I ended up talking to her, I think, for about an hour and a half. And so I just walked up and down my hallway and chatted with her. And I ended up with my 10,000 steps before noon today. So that was good. She's fine. She continues to have lots of support from the friends up there, so she's well. My mother-in-law, she had a momentous occasion this week. She turned 95 years old on Monday. So she's in a long-term care facility. They have extremely strict regulations right now because of COVID-19. Thankfully, her residence has not been affected as so many have, but we're not able to visit her right now. So what they have done is set up the possibility for like video chats. And so Cameron, while he was at work, they set it up with him. So he was able to talk with and see his mom. And then his two brothers were doing the same. One had already done it, one was doing it later in the day. So even though we couldn't go visit her, at least she was able to see all her sons and have a video visit with them. I feel really bad because it's such a huge occasion and we're unable to be there, and we couldn't even like send flowers because they are discouraging anything coming from outside. Even if we mailed a card, but even that they hold for a few days before they deliver them to the residents. So it just seemed kind of sad, but that's just the way it has to be right now. Cameron's cousin's daughter was planning to get married in August and just received news today that they've postponed their wedding till next summer. So it's that again. It's too bad that you put some plans on hold, but it's just the way it is. And we'll deal with it, right? Just before I recorded, I was watching British Columbia's daily or almost daily update. So yesterday was kind of alarming because we had a spike in cases. We had 70 cases yesterday, which we've been down quite a bit lower than that. And wondering if that is an indication of maybe relaxed precautions over the Easter long weekend by a number of people. I don't know that, just speculation. There have been a couple of poultry processing plants that have had outbreaks, and they're related. They have employees that have worked at both. So that counted for some. And then, so I'm not sure with the others. Anyway, I was relieved to see that there were 20-something today, which is still, you wish it was zero, but I'm hoping we don't see the numbers go up. They're starting to talk about down the road a little bit, guidelines for relaxing things and gradually getting back to more, I guess, more outside activity, but still maintaining social distancing and such. So it'll be interesting to see how things are going forward. Just crossing fingers and toes that that it's sooner rather than later, and just hope everybody keeps on doing what they're supposed to be doing and doing our own part. I think that's it. So I do wish you all the very best of health. Hope you're all hanging in there okay. I know some places are worse than others, obviously, and I'd also make a comment. We had a terrible shooting rampage in Nova Scotia over the weekend, and just terrible happenings there, and I don't know if any of you have any connection to that, but if you do, my heart goes out to you, to the victims, families. Just awful. It's never a good time, but this seems like an even worse time, right? When people can't be together to console each other. It's tough times for things like that. My brother-in-law's uncle passed away, not from COVID-19, but just something unrelated, and there'll be an extremely small gathering for his funeral, where normally it's a big family. There'd be a lot of people coming together. So I just feel for families that have to go through that, if not entirely alone, close to. Tough for them. Anyway, I don't want to end on such a depressing note. So maybe I should think of something good to end on. I know, how about rhubarb? The rhubarb's back. I made rhubarb crisp the other day. That's always a good time. Goldfinches are back. I haven't yet seen one myself, but my husband did on the weekend, and then my daughter Jessica sent me a picture of a couple of them at her feeder the other day. So I'm very jealous because I can't wait to see them myself. So there we go, rhubarb and goldfinches. Hopefully those things leave you with a smile. I should also note, if you are interested in just some chit-chat, knitting related chit-chat or otherwise, feel free to drop by the A Stitch in Time podcast Ravelry group. Join in the chatter in the Keep Calm and Craft Along thread. Everyone is most welcome. And on that note, I'll say goodbye. Stay safe and healthy, and I hope to talk to you again very soon. Bye.